Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the Russia and Ukraine war. I've got several things to share with you here today, but we're going to try something different. We're going to try to separate some of these segments and try to shorten these videos a little bit, try to talk about just a few topics at a time instead of bouncing around and talking about different things. I want to try to shorten these videos as much as I possibly can and try to focus on particular topics that we can dive deeper into as opposed to just kind of running over them and jumping to another topic. So it's something new that I want to try. Let me know how you guys like it down in the comment section. We'll just try to do multiples of these updates daily if we can. So let's go ahead and get into the news here. Two major topics to discuss today. Ukraine is going to be receiving massive amounts of support from the West in the coming days, weeks, and months as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany with his Western partners. We have U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin there as well, representing the United States. And we have lots of aid packages going to Ukraine very soon. I want to discuss some of those here with you today that have been announced at this meeting. Also, we have the city of Pavlohrad coming under attack by Russian missiles. Very horrible situation what has happened there just in the last few hours as lots of Russian missiles were striking that city. We've got reports of at least one person losing their life and also reports of 30 people or more being wounded in these attacks. So we'll talk about that. That's in the Dnipropetrovsk, if I'm pronouncing that right. It's in that region close to the Eastern Front. So let's go ahead and jump into the news and talk about some of this stuff going on here. We're going to start out on X. I've also got one report from mainstream news just to share with you guys in regards to Pavlohrad. So Volodymyr Zelensky reports, today I addressed the Ramstein contact group. Ukraine stands firm in the face of Russian aggression. Our brigades are holding the line in the Donetsk region in Pokrovsk and Turets, and the strength of our agreements must swiftly transform into the strength of our warriors. So this is big news. We reported this yesterday to you guys. General Oleksandr Syrsky of the Ukrainian Armed Forces coming out and reporting that the Russians advancing on the Eastern Front near the city of Pokrovsk have apparently been stopped. And the Ukrainians are holding them back, at least for right now, temporarily. And we talked about that yesterday. That was very big news, as Pokrovsk is a major key town on the eastern side of Ukraine that the Russians are trying to take right now. And Ukraine has had to evacuate many of the people from this city as it is starting to come under attack by the Russians as they continue to approach that major town. Okay, so big news coming out from Ukraine in regards to that. So let's go ahead and move to our next topic. This is also Volodymyr Zelensky speaking at the Ramstein Air Base. Anakomsa reports we control 1,300 square kilometers in the Kursk region, more than 100 settlements. A large part of this territory was simply abandoned by Russian troops. They just fled when our troops approached. Of course, much of the territory was taken under control by our forces during the battle, Zelensky said during the Ramstein meeting. Okay, so let's pay attention to what he has to say. He's going to talk about the Kursk region a little bit and bring some updates to his partners here at the Ramstein Air Base. So pay attention to the subtitles that pop up on the screen. Don't pay attention to so much of the words that you're hearing. There's lots of translating going on. So if you want to read in English, just pay attention to the subtitles.
Місяць від початку нашої операції в Курській області Росії. Це прикордоння, з якого Путін готувався поширити війну на українську територію. Він готувався розпочати нову офензиву проти нашого міста Суми. І ми перевернули гру і витискаємо війну на територію Росії завдяки нашому контрнаступу. Сьогодні ми контролюємо територію понад 1300 квадратних кілометрів у Курській області. Це включає, зокрема, понад сотню населених пунктів. Значна частина цієї території була просто покинута російськими військами. Вони просто втекли, коли побачили наближення наших військ. Звісно, значна частина території була взята під контроль нашими силами у боях. Місяць від початку нашого.
Okay, so big update coming out from Volodymyr Zelensky talking about the Kursk offensive in Russia. And I don't know if you guys noticed here, but he was talking about Sumy a little bit, that the Russians were preparing to launch an offensive on the Sumy region. And this is a big reason why they also launched their incursion into the Kursk region, okay, was to prevent this new attack coming onto the Sumy region. As we were hearing lots of reports about that even in the Bryansk region, next door just to the west of Kursk, that the Russians were preparing an attack from there as well. So Ukraine opened up this new offensive to protect the people of Sumy, which was, in my opinion, a smart thing to do, as this obviously would have spreaded the war even further, and Ukraine probably felt like they had no choice but to go ahead and launch this incursion and take the initiative, take the fight into Russia before they set up their forces and attacked into the Sumy region. So big news coming out from there with Volodymyr Zelensky. So let's go to our next update. Also from Volodymyr Zelensky, I met with German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius at Ramstein base. We discussed the current situation on the battlefield, the ongoing Russian attacks on our energy infrastructure, as well as the timeline for delivering further defense assistance, particularly to strengthen the protection of our skies. I'm grateful to Germany, its government, and its people for all their support. So this is the German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius with an opening statement to Volodymyr Zelensky as they're getting started at the Ramstein Air Base. So take a look at this.
We know all the situation is not like enjoying time together. We have really serious things to discuss, so I would suggest to step in immediately to do whatever we can. And good luck and congratulations, of course, for your success in Kursk. And on the other hand, I would like to express my condolences with regard to the attacks on Poltava and the terrible victims you have to suffer. So.
And thank you for your support from all your country government. A little bit later, I will have meeting with Chancellor, and I know that you had very productive meetings with our Minister of Defense. Thanks to very serious support from Germany, the second of the biggest supports. So from the very beginning of the war, you are with us. Thanks to your people.
We know all the...
Okay, so big statement coming out from Boris Pistorius, showing his condolences to Ukraine. And something that I was thinking about in this video, after reporting all these times that we see Volodymyr Zelensky traveling all over the place, meeting with people almost every single day. I mean, think about all the meetings that Volodymyr Zelensky has had to go through, all because of this war being fought inside of the eastern side of Ukraine and Russia attacking them and everything. Just imagine having to put yourself in Volodymyr Zelensky's shoes. He's got to be so tired from being at all these meetings and having to constantly discuss how they're going to win this war, how they're going to prevent the Russians from taking over their country, basically, as Russia continues to advance on the Eastern Front. And it's just crazy to think, to imagine and being Volodymyr Zelensky to have to go through this. Just something that I wanted to note there. It's just so many meetings I've seen him having to go to, and it's really unfortunate that he's having to do this, but their country is at war. So let's go ahead and keep moving here. Anton Gerashenko reports results of the Ramstein meeting today. The United States will provide a $250 million military aid package to Ukraine. Germany, Denmark, and Netherlands will provide Ukraine with 77 more Leopard 1A5 tanks. Canada will provide a large batch of engines for unguided aircraft missiles and 1,300 warheads for them. Germany will supply Ukraine with 12 more Panzerhaubitz, 2,000 self-propelled artillery systems. Also, the European Commission has allocated 40 million euros for Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Okay, so lots of huge support going to Ukraine from this meeting. We're going to go in depth in some of these new military aid packages as well. So let's go ahead and move on to our next update. From next, just in, the United States announced a new aid package worth $250 million. Okay, so this is some details of this. If you guys want to go ahead and pause your screen, you can take a snapshot of that, a screenshot if you want to read some more of this, but we'll go over it just briefly here. Biden administration announces additional security assistance for Ukraine coming out today, September 6, 2024. Today, the Department of Defense announced additional security assistance to meet Ukraine's critical security and defense needs. This announcement is the Biden administration's 65th, tranche of equipment to be provided from DoD inventories for Ukraine since August 2021. This Presidential Drawdown Authority Package, or PDA package, which has estimated value of $250 million, will provide Ukraine additional capabilities to meet its most urgent needs. including air defense missiles, munitions for rocket systems and artillery, armored vehicles, and anti-tank weapons. The capabilities in this announcement include RIM-7 missiles and support for air defense, Stinger missiles, ammunition for high mobility artillery rocket systems, which is HIMARS, 155 millimeter and 105 millimeter artillery ammunition, tube launch, optically tracked wire-guided TOW missiles or TOW missiles, Javelin and AT-4 anti-armor systems, Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, M113 armored personnel carriers, mine-resistant ambush-protected MRAP vehicles, small arms, ammunition, and grenades, patrol boats, maritime training equipment, demolitions equipment and munitions, and spare parts, and ancillary equipment, services, training, and transportation. So this definitely appears to be a very broad weapons package for Ukraine. Looks like they're going to be receiving lots and lots of support from the United States just in this package alone. Also, from the defense of Ukraine, Canada announced a new military aid package for Ukraine. The package includes 80,840 additional CRV-7 rocket motors, 1,300 CRV-7 warheads, 970 C6 machine guns, 10,500 9mm pistols, 29 M113s or M113s decommissioned chassis, 64 Coyote LAVs decommissioned chassis, 50 ambulances. Isn't that crazy? Even ambulances they're giving to Ukraine. That's amazing. Minister of National Defense of Canada, Bill Blair, announced that this week AFU pilots arrived in Canada to begin fighter-led-in training. Canada has taken over leadership of the FLIT element of the UDCG, Air Force Capability Coalition, backed by an investment of $389 million over 5 years in F-16 pilot training for Ukrainian personnel. We are grateful to our Canadian friends for their unwavering support. So even they're going to be getting support through F-16 pilot training as well, and that's pretty huge coming from Canada. So that's always good to hear as well. So big news coming from Canada as well in terms of a military aid package for Ukraine. So also we've got this report from OSINT Technical. The Netherlands just announced new package of essential support equipment and air-to-air missiles for Ukraine's F-16s. The package, worth roughly 80 million euros, will include generators, small vehicles, essential maintenance materials, specialized tools, and air-to-air missiles. Okay, so they're going to be getting air-to-air missiles for the F-16s that are going to Ukraine. So more support for Ukraine's Air Force as well. Lots and lots of big updates coming out today in regards to Ukrainian military aid packages. So we've also got this report from Noel Reports. The Biden administration is in urgent talks with Congress to secure the use of $6 billion in military aid for Ukraine before the September 30th deadline, as much of the $7.8 billion allocated in April remains unused. So it looks like there's approximately $6 billion in military aid that could be going to Ukraine that's held up right now. That looks like the Biden administration is trying to access this. The administration hopes to extend the Presidential Drawdown Authority, PDA, the key mechanism for providing defense support, by attaching it to a short-term emergency spending bill to prevent the funds from expiring with the fiscal year. Here's the report that came out on that. So yeah, it looks like another potential $6 billion in military aid going to Ukraine very soon as we have this deadline approaching. So we'll see if Ukraine is able to get that. So big news coming out again in terms of support for Ukraine. Also, while Volodymyr Zelensky was speaking at this meeting, he mentioned from next to here, Russia lost 6,000 soldiers killed and wounded for a month of the AFU operation in the Kursk region. So apparently Russia lost 6,000 soldiers, according to Volodymyr Zelensky, while they opened up this new front in the Kursk region of Russia. So I thought that was pretty big. Now, I can't completely verify this through any other sources, but apparently that's something he mentioned while he was here at this meeting at the Ramstein Air Base. So let me know what you think in regards to that down below. Also from next to UK to send Ukraine 650 multi-purpose Martlet missiles worth $213 million to Ukraine, the country's defense ministry reported. The first batch should be delivered by the end of 2024. Here's a picture of that missile here, according to Nexta. So more missiles going to Ukraine. Okay, $213 million in support for these Martlet missiles going to Ukraine. So big news. Like I said, guys, lots of support going to Ukraine right now after this meeting. And also, one more report here from Max 24. Zelensky, the long-range weapons, I am glad that USA, UK, France, and Italy are represented here at Ramstein. I wanted to say this openly so that there is no speculation. Thanks to our joint courage, we carried out very important operations, in particular in Crimea. These operations enable us to restore security to the Black Sea and restore our food exports. Now we're hearing that your range policy hasn't changed, but we're seeing changes on ATACMS, Storm Shadow, and Scalp missile shortages and cooperation. And this applies even to our territory occupied by Russia, including Crimea. We consider such steps wrong. We need this long-range capability not only on the occupied territory of Ukraine, but also on the territory of Russia, so that Russia has an incentive to strive for peace. So two things here. In regards to this, we know that Ukraine has been pushing to receive support from the West to start launching long-range attacks inside of Russia. Looks like that hasn't changed. But we know that Volodymyr Zelensky's strategy right now is to put maximum pressure on Vladimir Putin to force an end to this war. And we know that that's one of the major key points that Ukraine is trying to achieve right now, is to strike Russian airfields, potentially even attack major towns. Who knows? Do whatever they have to do to put pressure on Vladimir Putin so he'll come to the table, negotiating table with Ukraine, and end this war with them. And then also a big update here. Apparently, the policy has not changed in regards to Ukraine being able to strike inside of Russia. So that's unfortunate for Ukraine, because I know that's something that they want. But also there is some worry when it comes to the United States and some of the Western partners that they're afraid of escalation from Russia. And that does appear to be a major red line with Russia. I've talked about that recently. Now, we obviously don't know for sure if it is a real red line because Ukraine hasn't been able to do this yet. But to me, what it tells me is it most likely is a major red line, or at least the West is very afraid of this more than anything else that Ukraine has done so far, even with this Kursk offensive opening up into Russia. Okay, so huge news in regards to that. Just wanted to update you guys on long-range strikes in Russia. Now we're going to talk about Pavlohrad. Jay in Kiev reports, now with Biden's protection, Russians are free to launch unlimited missiles onto the Ukrainian population. Russia just sent 5 North Korean ballistic missiles to a residential neighborhood in Pavlohrad. There are around 60 victims already, many children. Ukraine is still forbidden by the U.S. from striking Russia's launching position. So we've got video footage here, 14 seconds long, of the aftermath of these strikes inside of Pavlohrad. So take a look. So very horrible to see this, guys. Looks like another major missile attack on what appears to be civilian infrastructure, excuse me. This looks like some sort of apartment complex that has been hit. And it's very, very sad to see this, okay? But we continue to see these major attacks all over Ukraine. And like I've been telling you guys, probably about 2 weeks now almost, that Ukraine has been attacked almost every single day. Major hits all over Ukraine with Russian missiles. So very sad to see this. And again, what's being reported here is 60 victims, okay? So we have somewhere, from what I've heard, somewhere around 50 to 60 people that have been harmed in these attacks. And we've got that report here as well that we will go over on Reuters. We'll go full screen for a minute. And it says here, Russian missile attack kills 1, okay? So 1 person reportedly being killed in this attack in Ukraine's Pavlohrad, governor says. Here's a picture coming out from that video showing the massive damage on this apartment complex. We can see all the windows blown out. Looks like we had fires breaking out. Looks like there was definitely a fire in here because we can see all this char on the wall here. So very sad to hear this, guys. Well, just briefly, let's go over this. Russian missile attack on Friday killed 1 civilian and wounded at least 30 other people, including 3 children in the Ukrainian city of Pavlohrad. Regional Governor Serhiy Lysak said. Lysak, governor of the central Dnipropetrovsk region, said the attack caused several fires across the city and damaged a residential high-rise building. 30 people were injured in Pavlohrad. 3 of them are children, he said on the Telegram messaging app. He said that a 9-year-old girl and 2 boys aged 4 and 11 had suffered in the attack. That's just absolutely terrible, guys. Again, we're seeing children, unfortunately, suffering in this war and being affected by these strikes. Very, very horrible to hear that. Also, the industrial city of Pavlohrad had a pre-war population of about 100,000 people. It is an important railway hub for the Dnipropetrovsk region, connecting it to the east of the country, where the Russian forces are slowly inching forward towards the city of Pokrovsk, okay? So, very, very sad to hear this, guys. But I wanted to share these details with you. I've also got a map pulled up just to kind of show you where Pavlohrad is located at, just in case you're not familiar with it. So we'll zoom into Ukraine here, and it's close to the Eastern Front. Okay, here's Donetsk over here. Here's Pokrovsk. So not too far away. I'm going to say maybe no more than, I don't know, 50 to 80 kilometers, if I'm guesstimating, from Pokrovsk. And this is where that major town, Pokrovsk, is coming under attack, and the Russians are not too far away. They're probably somewhere in this region right here, okay? They're getting closer and closer to Pokrovsk, but over here in Pavlohrad, it's not too far away from the major town or city of Dnipro, and here it is, Pavlohrad right here, okay? We can see it's a pretty good-sized city, okay? As it was reported, about 100,000 people were living here prior to the war. I'm sure some people have left by now, as it is very close to the front line. But yeah, that's where it's at, okay, on the Eastern Front over in Ukraine. Also, a couple last things to discuss here with you from Bliskovka. The number of victims in Pavlohrad has increased to 50, says RMA. The oldest is 86 years old. The smallest one is 4. The houses of the locals were broken. The consequences are still being clarified. And here's some pictures coming out from this attack as well. We saw this photo earlier. And here's some emergency crews here helping out. And it looks like some people going inside to rescue those that might be still trapped in the building. And just very unfortunate again, guys. We continue to see this again almost every day inside of Ukraine. And at this point, I mean, there's just been so many attacks, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just, I feel like I'm at a loss for words for the people that are suffering, whether it's in Russia, whether it's in Ukraine. Nobody deserves to be suffering in times of war, and civilians should not be impacted by these attacks. And especially in Ukraine, we've seen lots of people lately, just over the last week, losing their lives, losing their family, their loved ones. And, you know, I really hope this war can come to an end and we can get a peaceful solution, so the people of Ukraine and also Russia, the innocent civilians there, can stop suffering from this war. So let's go ahead to our last update here as well from Nexta. Breaking: one person was killed as a result of the shelling in the Dnipropetrovsk region. One person was killed in the shelling of Pavlohrad in Dnipropetrovsk region, the head of the regional administration, Serhiy Lysak, said. In addition, according to him, 30 people were injured, 3 of them children. In addition to a 9-year-old girl, 2 boys aged 11 and 4 were also injured because of the occupants' missile attack. So we also have a 50-second video clip to close out the video, showing you lots of the damage. We're going to see lots of debris everywhere as well from this attack. So it's an additional video on top of the ones that I was showing you guys, just to share with you the damage inside of Pavlohrad. Take a look. Alright guys, so just another short clip to show you some of the damage here inside of the Ukrainian city of Pavlohrad. And this appears to be some sort of shopping center. We can see all these shops that have been damaged, all these windows blown out. So not only was that apartment struck, but we even had some commercial buildings here being attacked as well. So I don't know what the significance of this attack was. I haven't heard of whether there was any Ukrainian troops here in this area, or maybe some NATO mercenaries. Who knows what exactly the target was here, or maybe this was just Russia striking civilian infrastructure to cause panic among the people of Ukraine. We have heard a lot of that recently too. That could be the case of what's going on here. But regardless, what we are seeing is another major attack inside of Ukraine, hitting the town or city of Pavlohrad. So just some updates coming out from Ukraine that I wanted to share with you. I'll do some other updates throughout the day talking about Ukraine. We'll discuss some other topics later on throughout the day as well. But I hope you guys got something out of this, and hopefully this video was a little bit shorter than normal to kind of stick to some key talking points and discuss some things more in depth. So hopefully you got something out of this. If you did, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.